Hello and welcome to Augmintech. In today's video, we are going to talk about color application in interiors. So, what we are going to learn in this video is how to apply colors in interiors, tips on using color in interior design, the 60-30-10 rule. So, this is what we are going to cover in this video. So, to start with, let me tell you, color application in interiors can be very tricky. It is something that can make or break your project. So while you are working on your color scheme, there are a few things that you can use as tips which will help you create a color scheme which is balanced and which also makes sense, right? So tip number one is always choose a base color. Now, what I mean by base color is this is the color which is going to be the canvas for your creativity. This is the color over which you can have other elements. So you can consider it to be the color of your walls and ceiling. So this is the first thing that you should always choose. You should choose a neutral base for your space. Neutral colors, as we discussed, are very soothing and always go with any kind of a color theme. It is not hard and fast that now you have thought that this is the color I am going to use for the walls. You cannot add other colors. But this is going to be the color which is the most present in your design, right? So when you choose a neutral base, you're giving yourself a versatile backdrop. So say you have chosen a color gray. Now gray color will give you a lot of opportunities. But once you lay down the backdrop, you can visualize your space with respect to that. It also creates a flexible color scheme. When you are thinking about a base color, when you are thinking about something neutral, so for example, if you have gray walls in a bedroom, in near future, if you want to change the overall color scheme, you can simply change the furniture, add some accessories and still get a new sort of a look. So that is why when we choose a base color, we tend to work with neutrals. Now, if I'm talking about gray or if I'm talking about beige, everybody knows you can use any sort of color which you want here. Now, if you want to have a red bed alongside your wall, that is possible. But now if you choose a base color which is a darker tone, for example, you choose a blue color, you choose a navy blue color for your walls, now you will get restricted. Now you will have to think about what kind of colors go with that blue. And then and there your color scheme will make you restrict in making certain decisions. So you need more room to experiment. When you're planning your color scheme, when you're thinking about your color scheme, you should not feel restricted by any sort of a color. So while you choose your base color, try and choose it from in between your neutral color palettes. If you see right here, these are the colors which come in the neutrals, as we have spoken about them before also. So you can choose any from your beige, taupe, grey and then build on it, right? Now once you have chosen a base color, you can choose one color which you want to have in the space. For example, if you have chosen grey, maybe now you want to add some green. So now you are adding green with the help of upholstery. So you are creating a bed which is green. Now that is your second color. Now you can build on that as well. Now if you want your bedding to be a certain color, maybe you can choose a color which complements the green that you have chosen. Now we can add some mustard cushions maybe, right? I'm just thinking on the top of my head, but this is how you can build up your space. So the first thing is choose a neutral base color. Now, it is not always important for you to add color in the space using just the walls and ceiling. Now, let me tell you something. When we talk about your ceiling and your wall within a space, these are the elements that take up most of the space. So, this is your complete canvas. But if you immediately paint your canvas red, blue, or green, how will you add more colors? That may become your style later on, but in the beginning, you should always try to add color with accessories, right? Now, it may be a design where you want to create one wall which is brighter or darker, or maybe you want to color the ceiling, but take care that you have chosen a neutral color first, and then you have added your color with accessories. Now, when we choose a base color, that is not typically something that is going to pop up, right? That is going to be something which is just there in a neutral tone. So you can use throws, cushions, and wallpapers to add color. Throws are simply these small scarves like things, or small chadar, you can say. So those are the things we use to put on our sofas or beds just to accentuate the space. It is just a fabric layering. You can call it a small shawl kind of a thing that you use. So this is used for people, for example, if you have a throw on your couch, maybe somebody sitting in who might feel cold can just take it and take it on them. So that's the purpose of it. But throws are a very good way for you to add color. Now, this is also a very easy way for you to check if your color scheme is working or not. You can simply have a complete set of room and try putting throws on it, right? You can throw some, you can use throws and check if your color scheme is working. Or you can put cushions to see if your color scheme works. So that is something. Now, if you look at the image on your left here, the color scheme that you see here is quite neutral. Now, the bed is in a neutral tone. The fabric of this curtain is in a very neutral tone. But now what they have done is they've added color within accessories. Now these cushions that you see, these are tangerine, mustard in color. So these are adding that pop. These are adding that interest. Similar is the case with the wallpaper. Now this wallpaper also adds color and adds interest in the space. So this is how you can use color. Now you can also incorporate a colorful artwork. Maybe you do not want to do a wallpaper. That is fine. You can still have your base color on the wall and put a nice a nice artwork on it. Now, if you don't even want to do the artwork, you can try accentuating the space with decor. Now, decor also includes things like your cushions. Now, this is the throw that I was talking about. You must have seen these in your hotel rooms. Now, this becomes a very important part because it ties up the whole scheme. Now that they have used some of the blues in the wallpaper, they have used a little bit of slate blue for their throw. So that kind of combines the space and makes it into one. So this is also a purpose of the throw. Now that we have talked about how accessories can add color, this is your tip number 2. The first thing is choose a base color and then try to add color using accessories. Now it is not important that you only use these things. You can also use your curtains to accessorize. You can also add a pop of color in the curtains. So that is also one thing that is to be done. Now that also comes within add color with accessories. Now coming on to tip 3, create focus points. Now when we are talking about colors, you do not need to add color in every corner of the room. That is not required. So you can simply create focus points. Now those focus points can be through one wall. It could be through a furniture element as well. So keep in mind that you are just trying to create a focus point. So you do not have to think about the whole space. You are just choosing one wall or maybe a one statement piece of furniture in your room, and you are accentuating that. For example, in this image that you see right here, we have chosen the back wall of the bed and there is a wallpaper put on that wall, which creates a very nice feel to it. It adds in the color and it also creates a focus point. So whoever is going to walk into this room, they are going to notice this wall. Okay, they are going to notice this wallpaper. You can also do the same thing by creating, just simply painting this wall some other color. That is also one way of doing it. So creating accent walls comes in many different ways. So you do not always have to put a wallpaper. You can maybe try and put some kind of a tile. So let's say it's a living area and you have one small wall which forms the corridor of the space. Now that corridor wall, you can add some color into it with the help of either texture paint, or maybe you can put wallpaper, or maybe you can put some kind of a tile, or you can put series of artworks. Now that corridor is going to become your focus point. Now your work with color is almost done there. Now you can use the similar tones and tints and use them in your cushions and throws and in your decor, and the whole design will still look subtle and neat, right? Now the next thing that I've mentioned here is adding a statement piece. Now think about this wall. This is a very plain wall with your cement texture, but just adding one big artwork is creating so much emphasis on that wall. This is the one thing that you can do to create focus. Now if you want anybody to look at a certain point, you can always use artwork. Now similarly, after the artwork, you can also create statement pieces of furniture which are different, and they break away from being regular, and they have a different kind of a color maybe, or maybe they have different kind of upholstery. So that is how you can add interest in your interiors. And also within these statement pieces, you can add a color of your choice which will help you create focus. Now I'm not saying that this is the only way of doing it. You can also combine these two things and have a wallpaper, a artwork, and also a statement piece. But all of that should be done with balance so that nothing feels overpowering. If you are using an artwork which is very bright and very big, maybe you want to go for a subtle wallpaper. Similarly, if you are using a very bold color on your sofa, maybe you want to create the backdrop a little bit neutral so that the sofa stands out. If you do layer on layer on layer, which are all bright, the focus will not be on one thing. It will be a divided focus. Yes, maybe if you are creating a maximalist space and if you want to add those colors, that is a different issue. But talking about it in generic terms, if you are creating a focus point, think about it in a way that you have a lighter layer, then a darker layer, and then a object of your choice. So that's how you can create accent walls or focus points. Now, applying colors does not always mean that we are applying color through paint, right? That is one way of doing it. That is a very generic way of doing it. But we can also add color through patterns. Now, the patterns that you choose must be of the same color scheme that you have decided on. So once you think of the different colors you want, you can have your patterns and textures based on that. Let's just say you have a color scheme which says brown and off-white. So you can have a pattern which also is in a similar direction. Or else you can have a warmer tone if you want to add another layer to it. Maybe you go for a tan sofa or an orange sofa. So look at the image on the left hand side. Here we have an entrance area of a space, and if you look at all the walls are covered in wallpaper. Now there is no other color in this room except for your floor and for this wallpaper. Now, when you have introduced color through this, you have already done your job of applying colors. Now you do not need to think about what goes into what other colors you need to add. Even if you do this much, it is going to be a complete design. So think about it as, even if you do a texture paint and then add some artworks on the wall, you will have a very nice space to be in. So use textures and patterns wisely. So when you use a pattern which kind of flows through all the walls, it is creating a very nice focus point for you, right? So similarly, maybe in this photo, if you want to add color, maybe this door could be red or this door could be blue. If you want to make a bold statement, that could be something that you use. Or if you want to add more texture in this, maybe this glass is not clear. This might be a tinted glass or a textured glass. So that is also how you can add depth in the space. Adding color is not always about paints. It is also about fabrics. It is also about your wall paint. It is also about your furniture paint. It is also about the texture of the materials you are using. So because whatever color they are going to have some kind of a quality. Even if it is a textured glass, it might give you a little bit of blue tint or a green tint, or it might give you a little bit of yellow tint. So depending on the light, it might give you different aspects. So that is how you can use patterns and textures to apply color in your interiors. Now, if you are something who's big on colors, who likes to experiment with colors, this tip is for you. You can use color blocking method. Now, what is color blocking method? Color blocking method refers to the technique where we use certain elements or certain zones in a space and we color them in one theme. Let's say we have an office room which is right inside our residence. Now I want to create a color block there. So I am creating that room using greens only. So now I have green walls, I have a green desk, I might also get a green ceiling done. So that is how I create a block, right? That's one thing. Now imagine this study to be in a larger area. So there is a big room and the study is in one corner. That is where you are adding these colors. So automatically, without doing anything else, that area will stand out and it will look separate, right? So let me explain it better with an example. Now look at this office space, right? Here they have used blue for color blocking. Now they have used blue for the wall, blue for the chairs, blue for the rug, and blue for also this wall. So they have used a lot of this color. So they have completely washed out the area with the help of blue. Now this kind of usage of color can also help you create very sophisticated spaces and also to define different spaces and activities. Now you can also do this in washrooms of any public space. For example, you are creating two washrooms. You want to bifurcate different washrooms for different people. So maybe this washroom is for adults, this is for kids. So for the adults washroom, maybe you create a space which is all black, right? So you have created that block in black, and the small washroom which is for the kids, you have created that in yellow. So all the tiles in that washroom are yellow and the tiles in the adults washroom is black. Now this immediately makes it clear that which area is defined to what, right? So similarly, imagine you are designing a gym. Now you want to have different floors for different activities. The first floor may be for your cardio, second floor for strength training, and the third floor is for your water, spa, and all of those things. So you can color block also in this kind of a situation where you create your color blocks. Like you, for the Zumba section, maybe you want to use a different kind of a gray, and for your strength section, you are using a slate gray, which is a dark gray. And for your spa, you want to go for beige. So that way, when you are using a scheme, a color scheme, you may want to, just um, implicate from your color usage that which zone is for what purpose. So that is a very helpful activity also when it comes to creating large complexes. For example, if you are creating a large gym or a large health clinic or something like that, you can use color blocking as your design methodology. For example, if you are creating a hospital design, maybe you want to create different wards using different colors. So even though you're not putting colors on all the walls, that is not what I'm saying, but you can block a certain zone with certain color. You can say that this is the zone which is going to have all green tables. This is the zone which is going to have all black tables. So that is how you color block. This is also a very easy to use technique, but also it gets tricky. So I would recommend that you use either complementary or analogous colors so that it does not feel like the space is not in sync with each other. So the overall complex should also be in sync. It should also have a color scheme, right? So even though you have defined various activities, if you use complementary or analogous colors, it is going to look synchronized. It is going to look like a one complex or a one design. Now, another way of using color in interiors. Now, before I tell you, I'm going to tell you that this is something which is a little unorthodox. It is not typically adding any color, but use natural elements. When you use natural elements like planters, or you use stone panels, or you use hardwood, so these kind of materials, they themselves have certain qualities and certain colors which they reflect throughout the day. So if you have plants in your space, they are automatically going to add that vibrancy, right? So just look at this image on the left. This is the space which is a restaurant design. Now if you look at the overall color scheme, it is pretty neutral, right? The only colors that they have used are grays, right? But the textures that they have used are all natural. Now they have used wood a lot. Wood creates variation of colors. Whenever you are using any natural material like wood or stone, you will have multiple layers of colors there already. So you do not particularly need to add more color in this space. Even if you are adding just the wood and some greens, your work might be done. So depending on the design that you are creating, these elements can actually help you accentuate the space and create something which is very cohesive, right? So whenever I'm talking about natural elements, I'm talking about your stone, I'm talking about wood, I'm also talking about textures like these. So these are cement texture or texture that occurs in nature sometimes. So these are the kind of colors that we can use and apply in our interiors. Also, this also includes things like marble. So if I'm talking about raw stone or I'm talking about marble, that is something which is automatically going to apply color in your interiors. If you are using a Botticino marble per se, you are already adding beige. If you are using some kind of, high-end marble, which is agate or a colorful marble, if you are using blue in that sense, you do not need to paint your walls blue after that. You already have added color through natural elements, right? So this is what we mean when we say use natural elements. Now, there's some simple tricks that you need to know when you are doing your color scheme. First thing is use light colors for small spaces. Okay, I'm going to tell you why. If you look at this space right here, this is a small office design. It might be something which is just in somebody's bedroom. It's a corner study. Okay, so now what we have done here is we have used a lot of dark tones. This might be the client's requirement or something which, you as a designer thought would look cool. So you did this. But this is going to make the space look so much small. Like it is going to make it look, then like it's shrinking. That's typically what dark colors do. Now, think of a space like this. Now here we have added very minimal elements, but the purpose of showing you this is, since this has a color scheme of beige and whites, it automatically feels like it's, it's a larger space. The table, if you look at this, the table size is as much as the room size. So we simply know that this is a very small area. But because of the natural light, because of the colors that we have used, it looks open and it looks like this is a larger space. So the best colors which you can use for small spaces are beige, pastel colors, taupe, and also shades of white. So this is how you can use science and you can use color to manipulate a space. If you already have a small space and you start doing your maximalist design and you start working with complementary colors, analogous colors, it is not going to help. It is going to create a very messy scenario for you in the end. So, using the quality of light and color, you can have spaces which are smaller but make them look bigger. Isn't that your job as a designer? So, what happens is when you use light colors, they reflect more light. So when they reflect more light, we feel like there is more light in the space. Even though here you can see it's just one window and there is a small light hanging here. But just because of the colors, it feels more inviting, it feels more open, and it feels more comfortable. So this is how you can use this. Now, another important tip for you is darker colors make large spaces feel cozier. So now if you have a very large room, very big room, and you somewhat want to, remove that coldness from it, you want it to feel cozy. So that's when you use darker color tones. So when you use darker color tones, you are automatically going to make that space feel cozier. So let me give you an example. Just look at this image on your left. So this is a restaurant design, and if you look at the space here, there are so many tables, so many chairs here. There is also another sitting there. But so automatically we know that this is a large space, right? But since the colors are so dark, it kind of feels cozy. It kind of feels close. It kind of feels like these things are not as far away as they look, right? So it's just an illusion which is being created with the help of a darker color tone. So if you want to, if you have a very big room and you don't know what to do with it, these days, let me tell you, everybody and anybody wants a room which is bigger than 20 feet by 20 feet. They are okay with that. People are creating bedrooms which are even bigger than their lobby spaces. So they want to have this luxury feeling. But the thing that they do not understand is that the bedroom is supposed to feel cozy. But if you have such a large space, it becomes difficult to feel that energy. So as a designer, it is your duty to refer that and understand what kind of space that is. If it's an exceptionally large space, you can dial it down and create a cozier atmosphere while you are using darker tones. Now you can do the same thing for smaller rooms as well, but now that will make the room even smaller. So think about the color schemes when you are using them. When you're using darker colors, always make sure that the space is large enough to handle it. And if you're using light tones, think of it that this is going to make my space look even larger. So do I want to do that? Right? You might have to find ways to accentuate one wall or two walls or three walls to make it kind of shrink or make it feel like it is cozier. So, we have already talked about so many things, like so many ways about how you can apply color in interiors. There is a bonus tip for you here. Now, we have talked a lot about the walls, we have talked about the furniture, we have talked about adding wallpapers, but something that we missed is the ceiling. The ceiling also is a very big part of your design, and it is something that is going to add so much character in the space. So when you use a dark ceiling, that creates an illusion of a shorter space. So per se, let's say for example, you have a very nice bedroom design which you are designing for your client, but the height of the room is way too much. It is 13 feet, let's say. Some people might like that, but those kind of spaces also tend to feel a little bit large. So when you are lying down on your bed, you might feel you're lying down in a very big room. So to create an illusion of a shorter space, maybe the ceiling can be colored into a darker tone. It could be gray, it could be blue, it could be green, whatever is fine with you, but that is something that you can use to replicate an effect of a shorter space. Now, if you have a space which is say 7 feet height only, and now you want to create the feeling of it being larger. So what do? You make the ceiling light. So you use a very light tone for your ceiling. You add lots of light and the space will start to look tall, right? Now, see, here is an example of how dark ceilings are used to create a cozier space. Even though this is a huge bedroom, creating a ceiling like this and using a darker tone on ceiling will dial it down and make it a little bit cozier. Now, if you want to elongate a space, if you want to create a space which looks very long, you can use one wall and apply a dark tone on it. That will help you elongate the space. Now, why does it do that? Because the focus of a human eye goes into that one focus wall only. So you can elongate the space in a way. The perception of the space will be like that, right? If you want to make a space less wide, if you want your client to conceive a space to be shrinking down, then you can use the opposite walls and put a dark tone on them, and the space will start looking less wide. So similar is the case with if you want to make your room look shorter, you can also use a dark flooring and a dark ceiling, and then that creates an illusion of a shorter space. So these are a few tricks that you can use. It does not work always, but it needs to be done very carefully and very keeping in mind all the other aspects of your room. Then it might work in your favor and you might be able to create a cozier space. Now, let's talk about the 60-30-10 rule. What is this rule? Now, let me just clear this out for you. There are no rules in interiors as such, but if you use this rule, you are going to end up with very balanced spaces, right? So, what does this rule say? The rule says that 60% of the space should have a dominant color. 30% should be your secondary color and 10% should be the accent color, which simply means you have to select 3 colors for any kind of a space that you are creating. Let's say you are creating an office design. So you need to choose a dominant color, which is going to be your base color, and then you will add a secondary color. Now this color is something which is going to be used in accessories and furniture. And the last one is your accent color. This is the color which we generally use in the decor, right? Now what are the benefits of using a rule like this? It ensures balance and creates a harmony. It provides a clear framework and it can be adapted to any style. Now when you are thinking about 60-30-10, you already thinking about the 3 colors you want to use. When you already know the percentage of the color to be used, it is going to make it easier for you to apply color in the space. Let's take this example. Here, what is the dominant color that you see? The dominant color here is this light gray. So this is the dominant color which is there everywhere. So the furniture is in this color, the walls are in this color. Then secondary color is the 30% part, which here is your curtain, your cushions. So that is where we have used some blue. Also in the flooring, there is some kind of blue in the carpet. So that makes up for 30%. And the third is the accent color. Accent color is only present at 10% of the times, which is this yellow part in the painting, a yellow vase, a yellow cushion. Now, what this does is it creates a very nice balance between all the colors that you're using. Be it any kind of a theme, if you follow this rule, you end up creating a space which provides a very nice balance, right? That's the key. You always want to create a balance in your space, even when you are using very bold colors, even if you are using neutral colors. This is something that you need to ensure always. So let's consider another example. If you are thinking about, let's say, a restaurant. So as we talked about, we need to choose a base color. So let's say we chose a base color, which is your beige. Okay, that's the one color that we have chosen. Now the secondary color. Now which is the secondary color that I'm going to choose? Let's say yellow. So I'm going to use this yellow in my upholstery, in my chairs. And the third is the accent color. Now, as accent color, I am going to use green. So, I need to add some greens in my restaurant. So, these are the colors which I'm using. So, now I already have a clear picture of how my restaurant looks like. I can imagine it just with the help of this rule. So, when I'm figuring out the colors, I'm already figuring out the outcome of the interior that I'm creating. So, this is very helpful. Now, this is all for today's video. So I'll see you in the next one. I hope this was helpful enough.